COVID-19, the unexpected virus that swept the entire world by storm from March 2020 to the present day, was a new disease that had not been previously seen in humans prior to late 2019, according to the CDC. The virus is thought to be originally from Wuhan, China, but of course became more of a social staple once it hit the States. COVID-19 spreads very easily, faster than influenza, but slower than measles, through close contact of individuals, says the CDC. We can contract the virus through the mouth and nose if saliva particles are to enter our nasal cavities and or mouth from an infected person. The most common symptoms of COVID-19 are a loss of taste and smell. Any other symptoms tend to vary among the contractee, but can include nausea, fever, and fatigue. To best prevent the spread of COVID-19, social distancing and masks were implemented and enforced to cover our nose and mouth and allow space to be in between all of us as well, the CDC informs. The main reason social distancing is important is that not everyone with COVID-19 is symptomatic. Most are actually asymptomatic, or appear healthy but actually have the virus. So with not everybody being noticeably apparent to have the virus, one of the best ways to stay safe is to distance from one another just to take caution. If we are ever in contact with a positive COVID-19 case, we should quarantine at home for at least 2 weeks to see if we have any symptoms, and even after get tested just in case we're asymptomatic. COVID-19 is not necessarily life-threatening, but can take the lives of victims who already have underlying health conditions, most commonly the elderly. Nevertheless, the virus is said to make the body feel the same way pneumonia and the flu would make the body feel: fatigued, sore, drained, and so on. After the fact finally settled in that we were in the midst of a pandemic, there became many rumors and myths floating about. The most common one being that the virus could slow down and eventually disappear once the true summer hits because of the heat, the same way pneumonia and the flu tend to slow down in the warmer months. Of course, we fully debunked that theory once the summer came and went, while cases were still rising and the death rate still increasing. The summer honestly is when the pandemic got worse and peaked. More people were outside, the school year of 2019 to 2020 had ended on a bad note, and everybody just wanted to get out of the house, no matter the consequences. As stated in retrospect, the virus struck the United States specifically in March of 2020. Urgent shutdowns and closings alike became mandatory in almost every industry, education especially. The initial shutdown as a whole was only expected to last for 2 weeks in the middle of the month of March, and in turn slowly but surely blossomed into a 3-month quarantine and virtual learning session. NBC reported that in the beginning, only 18 states out of the entire U.S. closed schools down at the first reports of the virus, which happened around March 9th of 2020, while the rest waited for former President Trump's mandate. That report alone shows how lightly we took the virus early on before its severity was displayed. Now, with schools being closed physically, learning still had to happen to finish the 2020 school year off. Thus, the infamous idea of virtual learning became fully implemented nationwide as a temporary solution. The learning style consisted of at-home learning via laptop, tablet, or desktop through communication with teachers and video chat apps such as Zoom. Also, while schools were closed and virtual learning was taking place, 22 million students nationwide were without a hot meal provided from their school, according to NBC. It is a part of school that the fortunate tend to forget about outside of school, and the less fortunate remember outside of school. Virtual learning was hard for all grades and backgrounds to adapt to, but the physical change in our learning environment was not nearly the biggest problem. The class of 2020 took the biggest hits in the closings of schools for the year. We high school seniors lost our prom, graduation, and other senior festivities, and college graduates lost their ceremonies as well. Arizona State University surveyed roughly 1,500 of their students who were a part of the 2019 to 2020 school year closings to see just how affected college students really were by the pandemic. Researcher Sana Moore reports her findings from the survey as half of the students felt a decrease in academic performance, 40% lost a job and or internship, and 10% confirmed their graduation was postponed. It is needless to say that survey's results showed the true darkness that was beyond just the health risks of COVID-19. While everybody's end to the 2020 school year was horrific, 12th grade and up definitely suffered more than 11th grade and under. After the virus peaked in the summer of 2020, many schools realized that the virtual learning that occurred from March to June was not just a phase and would have to roll over into the 2020 to 2021 school year as well. Now, while virtual learning was not every school's entire curriculum, it made up a majority of universities and districts and was still implemented to a certain degree nationwide. The other main strategy many schools used was hybrid learning, which is a mix of in-person and online instruction. However, the nature of the strategy varies from school to school, Lieberman states. Nevertheless, many schools did try to fully go back in person once the school year of 2020 to 21 began. Ultimately, those schools, such as North Paulding High in Georgia, had to resort back to online learning, as it did not work out for long, says 11 Alive News.
They head back to school. Just look at the crowded hallway at North Paulding High School. It is packed with dozens of students barely wearing any masks and no social distancing. The student who shared these images was suspended tonight. In an exclusive interview, Natisha Lands talked to the teen who says her punishment is extreme.
Well, Aisha, the student says she feels like the school is trying to make an example out of her. After that video and picture went viral, she says an announcement was made to students that they could be punished if they criticize the school over social media. Instead, 15-year-old Hannah Waters says she was given a 5-day suspension for violating 3 out of 4 rules from the Paulding County School District Code of Conduct. It's all because of this photo and a video that went viral. It shows a crammed hallway at North Paulding High School on Tuesday, the second day of school.
So I took that picture out of concern for the county and all the kids there and all the teachers and staff.
The next day, the honor student says she was pulled out of class and informed she'd be suspended. Hannah did not expect the photo to take off like it has. Says it's not her goal to see the school shut down, but she wants to see masks enforced.
While the switches to online and hybrid learning were foreign for us, it was undoubtedly the only way to have both the education system up and us as students healthy. To ease some of the worry and stress, some schools made entire subdomains within their university dedicated to COVID-19, filled with daily reminders, tips, and announcements, all surrounded around staying safe in the times we are in. One of the schools that did so was our very own NIU. Ours is called Protecting the Pack. Protecting the Pack is an environment fully dedicated to making us as students aware of the necessities we not only need as students, but in the midst of a pandemic. The subdomain is filled with quick links, school dates, resources, and so much more to make getting through the pandemic and the school year that much easier. Any questions we may have related to COVID-19 and non-health related questions as well can all be answered at Protecting the Pack. While many students were becoming content with the circumstances we were in education-wise, there were other students who still disregarded the virus, its severity, and all health precautions associated with it. Their lack of concern for the virus prompted many universities, such as NIU and ASU, to transfer their few in-person and hybrid classes strictly virtual for 2 weeks around the middle of the fall semester of 2020. Nevertheless, the consequences that were implemented as such showed the students who were nonchalant about the virus otherwise. We conducted a qualitative and quantitative experiment to further follow up with high school and college students to see just how affected by the pandemic their personal and educational lives were. We surveyed 54 student participants with COVID-19 related questions, then asked for follow-up interviews with 10% of the survey takers, and the results are as follows.
Will probably be school, just because I'm so used to actually going and physically being in school, and COVID happened.
Being in and out of jobs. So I just say working.
I'm to adapt to doing school online, having to basically teach myself, not having teachers really help me out.
The hardest adaptation for me would personally be the fact that I have to do remote learning for school.
Self-motivated, very rarely.
I rarely feel motivated.
I lack motivation.
Also struggled with actually getting motivation from what's going on. Because like I said, COVID has been very detrimental to my mental health.
I mean, it's serious, but me personally, like, it's just, I feel like it's fake or
not that serious because, like, my family hasn't really been, like, affected by it. They have been affected, but we're alive, we're living. So.
It is serious because my dad got really sick and my whole house got really sick. My dad was really bad. He ended up going to the hospital, and I know a lot of other family and friends also got really sick.
COVID-19 is very serious. One, I've been affected personally by COVID. I didn't get COVID, but I've had immediate family members pass away from COVID. I've also had family members on their deathbed from COVID. And just having friends and family get sick from COVID.
The reason I left college when I went is because of virtual, because I feel like I wasn't learning as much as I should have because I was home.
If there wasn't a pandemic going on right now, I probably would have like more people to study with.
I'm able to make my own time for whenever I want to do my homework.
I will participate and engage more in my school.
Wasn't in favor of the vaccine at first, but like I'm slowly kind of warming up to it.
It doesn't really matter to me, but yeah.
Because I just want things to get better so that we're all able to go back to school.
Was hesitant and skeptical about the vaccine at first, but after time and deliberation and with the recent studies on the vaccine and how it could protect us against new strains and further strains if they were to be created, I think the vaccine is a good idea.
Returning to normal is not far off, but it's not quite close yet. The main thing that will be vital in school returning to as normal as possible is the vaccine plus maintaining healthy sanitation practices, states NIU. The key will also be to implement past traditions, routines, and habits slowly and not all at once. If not done properly, everything could backfire and cases could start to rise again. Most classes will be back in person, but there will still be about 30% virtual as well, according to NIU's plans. The vaccine, as stated in retrospect, will be the biggest factor, though as a room full of vaccinated beings are 100% safe from the virus and don't need social distancing nor masks. Until the entire campus can get vaccinated, steps will be gradual but with further intentions in mind. NIU's very own Michael Day from the Writing and Composition Department gives his expertise on COVID-19 and virtual learning.
Have to still do some social distancing. I don't know about masks, but if we're going to take whatever information, scientific information that the state, since we're a state school, NIU, and the U.S. government tells us about the best practices for coming back into the classroom, we're going to offer a lot more online classes than we did before the pandemic. I do think that there's been some students for whom it hasn't been a great inconvenience, but that tends to be by privilege, by people who have good Wi-Fi, for people who have good technology, for people who have spaces that they can use in their own dwellings. They don't have access to Wi-Fi, or their Wi-Fi is bad. They might not have a laptop, or they might not have a space for learning. So I think that in that regard, there is a disadvantage here for some students. Ways to look at this. It's good that you leave it open-ended because, number one, the budget impact has been huge. And I'm thinking that hopefully the new COVID relief package that's coming out from the government is going to get some money back in the hands of students and colleges, because they took a loss on a lot of other things like sports events, etc. So that impact has been huge, and we're going to be digging out of a hole. But otherwise, I think we've learned that we can offer a lot more online classes to meet the needs of learners who might not be able to come to campus. And I'm guardedly optimistic that we are seeing a positive sign. I hope it's not just a temporary, change in the death rate and in the new cases. I'm feeling hopeful that the vaccine, some people get them, will cause us to be in a state where we can feel safe. It's, we hope that, this is a 100-year event and we won't have more superbug epidemic pandemics hitting the world or hitting NIU. We've learned a lot, and we now have a lot of contingency plans in place.
No matter how the fall of 2021 turns out, one thing for sure is that NIU will always put the safety and health of its students and faculty first.